Hello, guys. Welcome. Hello, Erica. Hello, Pilar. How are you?
Hello, teacher. I'm fine.
Good. Good to see you. Great. Welcome. Welcome to today's webinar. Hello, Cesar. How are you? Welcome. Good. So welcome. Why don't wait for your classmates? We'll wait a couple of minutes.
How are you? Thank you.
Good, man. Good to see you. So, today's training is a bit different to what we usually have because today's training will be devoted to methodology. So if you're an English teacher or if you want to become an English teacher, this is a training for you. So you're in the right place. Yes. If you're not an English teacher or if you don't want to be an English teacher, this is not for you, right? Maybe we'll prepare something different for you in the future. But if you're an English teacher or if you want to become an English teacher, yes, this is a training you've been waiting for. Hello, Sadid. How are you?
Hello, teacher. I'm fine. Just finished my dinner.
Great. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. Okay. So as I was telling your partners, today's training will be a bit different to what we usually have. So basically, we'll talk about methodology. Okay, this is not FC training. This is not CA training. No, this is methodology. So if you're an English teacher or if you want to become an English teacher, yes, this is the right training for you. Good. Hello, Shayla. Welcome. Okay, so first of all, I need you to type in the chat box, where are you from? If you are from Lima, type Lima. If you are from a different city or different country, please just type it in the chat box where you are from. I'm gonna read you guys. Shayla says, I'm from Lima. Well, that's good. We're in Lima too. Sadid says from Callao. Wow, that's good. Pilar is from Lima as well. Great. What about the rest? Erica is from Lima, Peru too. Okay, we got more people from Lima. That's good. Great. Okay, okay. Welcome. Welcome. Good. Okay. Cesar says, I am from Magdalena. Great. Good. Okay, guys, welcome. Great. So I think we're ready to start. Yes. We are so ready. Okay, so welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome to today's training. First things first, I call this training How to Teach English Effectively Without Generating Boredom. Okay? How to teach English effectively without generating boredom. So this is I guess this is the main problem for most teachers, right? Most teachers are nervous, are afraid to make their classes boring. So I don't think there is a teacher who likes their classes to be boring. I mean, I think most teachers want their classes to be interesting, exciting, unpredictable, right? Because if you make it that way, if you work for schools, parents will be happy. And if parents are happy, you will be happy, believe me. And if you work in an institute, if your students are happy, there will be less complaints at the coordination, right? So you don't want to have problems, guys, with coordination if you work in a language center. You don't want to have problems with parents if you work in schools, right? So you want to make everybody happy. And if they are happy, believe me, you will be happy, okay? And who doesn't want to be happy? I think everybody wants to be happy, right? Okay, before we start, please type yes in the chat box if you can hear me well. If you can hear me well, guys, type yes in the chat box. I want to make sure that my microphone is working. Everything is working from my side. Cesar says yes. Sheila, Nicole say yes. Sadit says yes. Okay, perfect, guys. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, like sometimes technology can be a blessing, but also can be a curse. So we need to make sure that everything is working properly. So, first things first, we have a present for you. Yes, we have a present for you only for the people who stay until the end of the training. Yes. So if you stay until the end of the training, we'll give you this present. And believe me, it's going to be awesome. Okay. You will definitely like this present. But this present is only for the people who stay until the end of the training. That's it. That's all you have to do. Stay until the end of the training. This training will last approximately 40, 45 minutes, maybe 50. We'll have some Q&A, questions and answers at the end. And yeah, and then we'll give you the present. Yeah, that's it. So remember, guys, we have a present only for the people who stay until the end of this training. So you cannot miss this. Seriously, you don't want to miss this. Good. Okay. So who is this training for? Certainly this training is not for everybody. So this training is mainly for people, students who want to become English teachers, also for English teachers who want to polish up their methodology skills, people who want to know how to design an effective model class, and people who want to apply for a new job as a teacher with full confidence. So basically, people who are English teachers or people who want to become English teachers very soon. Yes? So in the next 45 minutes, this is what we're going to share with you. Number one, how to recognize students' characteristics. This is very important, guys, because remember, you need to know your audience. You need to know who you're dealing with. If you don't have any idea who you're dealing with, how can you prepare your classes? You don't have a clue. You need to have clues in order to prepare your classes. So we're going to teach you that today. And you will also learn how to develop students' learning cognitive strategies through language learning. Now, I know it sounds sophisticated, like cognitive strategies, like Lucio, what are you talking about? Don't worry. It's not as difficult as it sounds. Actually, it's much easier. Basically, the second bullet point, it's about all the different activities that you as a teacher can use, can incorporate in your classes so that you can make your classes interesting, unpredictable, and so that you can catch the attention of the students. Okay? So yeah, these are the two things we'll share with you today. Welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome, John. Welcome, Miriam. Welcome, Nicole. Good to have you here, guys. Great. Okay, so basically everything you need to know so that you can teach English effectively and design the best model class instead of guesswork and failure. Okay, so some house rules for today's training, guys. Very important. This is not become a teacher quick. No, definitely there is no formula to become a teacher fast. Becoming a teacher, it's a long journey, right? I started teaching when I was 17 years old. Right now I'm 36 years old, and you know what? I'm still learning. So I guess in every job, people keep learning, right? So you need to keep learning every day. Yes. Number two, this is not do nothing and become a teacher. Of course not, guys. I mean, I know that many people say, yes, becoming a teacher is super easy. All you have to do is just to be present and that's it. No, no way. I mean, there is a science, it's a science and art, right? So there are some principles that you need to know if you want to become a teacher. And today, I guess we're going to teach you the most effective principles, the most important principles that you need to take into account if you want to become an English teacher. Number three, you must have finished your intermediate or advanced English course in your institution, and you need to have hunger for success and really want to become a teacher. But without this, I cannot help you. And it's been great having you here on this webinar. But right now, I guess it's time for you to leave. Now, remember, guys, I mean, if you want to become an English teacher, you need to know English. This is the main ingredient, right? So if your level of English right now is basic, you cannot become an English teacher. Of course not. So first, you need to work on yourself first, and then you can think about becoming a teacher. So right now, remember, you need to have at least a complete intermediate English level. This is the least you could have. If you don't have at least intermediate level, this is not for you and you cannot become an English teacher. Perhaps you can teach English to kids, children on your own, giving private classes, but if you want to apply for an institute or a language center, it's not enough. Yes, it's not enough. Sheila asked me a question. Teacher, I've got the first exam. It is considered as a complete intermediate, right? Are you talking about the FCE, Sheila? Oh, perfect. So if you have the FCE, great. Of course, you can, guys, if you have the FCE or if you're training to get the FCE, this is the minimum. This is, yeah, I mean, it's what it's required to become an English teacher. Actually, this is what I recommend most people. You need to have an FCE at least if you want to apply for a job in a prestigious institute here in Lima or all around the country. Good. Sheila says, I would like to prepare for the CAE. Of course, Sheila. I mean, once you get the FCE, believe me, people are addicted to more certificates. So yeah, you can go for the CAE. Perfect. Okay. And neither my results or my results are typical. The people you are going to hear about are hardworking students who put in the effort and did the work. So the results you get, guys, are entirely up to you. Yes? Now, does this sound like you? You want to become an English teacher? Okay. You want to polish up your methodology skills? Maybe you've been teaching for a while. Okay, this is good for you. You want to design an effective model class to apply for a new job as an English teacher. Maybe you're working right now for a small school and you want to work for a bigger school or a bigger institution. Great, this training is for you. So this is the real problem. You believe teaching English is easy, but it is not. So anybody who can tell you teaching English is easy, no, it's a lie, okay? It's a scam. So it requires plenty of preparation, trial and error, but if you know the principles behind teaching English, it becomes a bit easier, okay? Great. So once you know these principles, number one, you will be able to teach English effectively. Number two, you'll be able to make your classes interesting, appealing, and less boring. And number three, you will be able to work as an English teacher in a prestigious institution. I don't want to say names, but you know what institutions we are talking about. Usually the most commercial institutions in the country. Yes, I can't say names, guys. I can't say names. Um, but you know what I mean, right? Great. Number 4, you will be able to design effective classes. And number 5, you will be able to apply for a new job as an English teacher with full confidence. Yes, because once you apply for a job as a teacher, they will tell you, okay, prepare a model class. And if you don't have any clues, if you don't have any ideas about how to prepare your lesson plans or your class, I mean, they won't hire you, right? You won't be selected as a teacher. So you need to know the principles behind designing a class. Yes. And today we're going to share with you guys 2 principles. Great. Now, for the people who don't know me, some of you guys know me. Maybe you are in one of my courses, one of my trainings. Great. Good for you. Maybe you're not in one of my courses or you don't know me very much. Well, this is for you guys. I mean, my name is Lucio. I worked at one of the most prestigious universities of the country. You can check my LinkedIn, right? My LinkedIn, all my profile, my life, my professional life is there, so you can check it out there. And I started teaching when I was 18 years old, actually, technically 17 years old, but let's call it 18 years old. And I know what works and what doesn't. And we have helped more than 500 students, actually, not 400, 500 students get their international certifications with my programs. And some of you are in one of my programs. So great, good for you. And I specialize in helping students get their international certifications in a very short time with my proven method. So this is the thing that I do for a living. But I'm more passionate about training people to become English teachers. And I mean, I don't know why, but I like it. I really love, I love my job. I love training people to get their FCs, CAs, IELTS, TOEFL, etc. You name them. But I think I'm more passionate about training people to become English teachers. I think it's my gift. I think it's my gift, because I have been teaching English for all my life and I know how it works. I know everything about teaching. I know everything about how to apply for a job, how to get a job fast, what to do, what not to do. I know how to send an email. I know how to answer a question. I know that because I have been through this road. And maybe this is the reason why I love helping people to become English teachers. And these are some of the pictures of the trainings that we have given and the trainings that we have attended to. You can see, for example, the picture on the top corner, on the top right corner is when I got my master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language at Pura University. Also the one on the top left corner, it's a workshop, a conference we gave in a nice hotel like a couple of years ago. And the picture at the bottom on the right hand, it's a picture of a school. I gave a training with one of my best friends. The training was about how to use mindfulness coaching in your English classes. Maybe some of you recognize the name of the school. Again, I cannot say names, guys. I can't do that. But if you have been teaching to, maybe you recognize the school. It's one of the top schools in the country. And the picture in the center at the bottom is one of the trainings that I attended personally. I went to Miami, Florida, the USA, to attend this personal development conference. It was an intense training. We walk on fire. It was really, really good. Great. And that's just the start of it, guys. I mean, in the last 5 years or more, I have helped more than 500 people like you to get their international English certifications in a very short time with my proven method. And also, like I said before, one of my passions is to train people to become English teachers. And you can see the pictures here. These are some of the workshops that we held recently. You can see myself and one of my teachers too. We, like I said before, we train people like you to become English teachers, and also we train English teachers to polish up their methodology skills. Yes? So, what are the two principles to teach English more effectively? I mean, you're here for this reason, right? I mean, you don't want to see my face, you don't want to see me talking. You want to know these two principles. So if you're ready, type ready in the chat box right now. Type ready if you're ready for me to share with you the two principles that you need to know in order to teach English effectively. Type ready, please, in the chat box if you're ready. Sadit says, yes, I'm ready. Kristen says, ready. Alexa, ready. Nicole says, ready. All right, everybody's ready. Let's do it. Let's go. Good. So the first principle, these are the two principles to teach English in a more effective way. The first one, and I think we told you this before at the beginning of today's training, you must know your audience. You need to know, guys, who you're dealing with. You cannot teach the same class of children, the same class to an adult. It's not the same class. It can never be the same class. Children and adults are two different kinds of people, okay? You cannot teach the same in the same way, okay? So let me show you guys a brief input on students' characteristics as language learners, because if you know what is behind each person, each type of person according to their age, you will have more ideas. You will be more creative when it comes to designing your classes. Let's do it. Let's start with 2 to 4 years olds, okay? By the way, guys, I have never taught kindergarten, but once I replaced a teacher when I started teaching many years ago. Once I replaced a teacher for one day in kindergarten when I used to work for schools, and it was a great experience. I like it, but you know what? It's not my thing. My favorite type of classes were primary children between 7 to 9 years old. That was my favorite class. I think it was the perfect age for me to teach because children respect you. Children some of them think you are their superhero. You care for them, they care for you. And I think there was a good relationship I had a good relationship all the time with children this age, between 7 to 9 years old. But anyway, I'm going to share with you guys some principles for people who work in kindergarten. Anybody here teaches kindergarten? Please type me if you teach kindergarten level. Anybody? Oh, Pilar says me. All right. So this information is for you. Great. So guys, if you're planning to teach kindergarten, this is information for you. So, check this out. Number one, preschool children are in a sensitive period for language development. They absorb languages effortlessly and are adept imitators of speech sounds. So what does it mean? It means that children, believe it or not, they learn fast. They learn consciously and unconsciously, which is a good thing, but also it could be a bad thing. Why? Because if you teach them bad, they will learn in the bad way. If you teach them good, they will learn in the correct way. So you have to be very careful with this, guys, because, and this is the reason why for me, it was a big responsibility to teach young children. This is the moment where you have to really prepare your classes. You need to have a lot of materials, a lot of tools, a lot of resources. These are children, and this is a big responsibility. The younger they are, the more responsibility you have. Number two, because they are very self-centered, they do not work well in groups, and they respond best to activities and learning situations relating to their own interests and experiences. This is so true. Why? Because most children at this age, they are their babies of their families. So they are selfish, okay? They are self-centered. They don't want to share their stuff. So you need to design activities according to this, okay? So I remember when I used to teach young kids, you know, like you need to give them, you need to put them in the spotlight, right? Like maybe you can choose one person to be, you can assign one person a special role for one day. Like they could be the sheriff, they could be the teacher's assistant one day or for 1 week. They like that. They like these roles that you can assign them, okay? Because they want to be the center of attention. They want to be in the spotlight. So you need to do whatever it takes to make this happen. Number three, although they have a short attention span, they have great patience for repetition of the same activity or game. This is so true, guys. According to experts in the field, children only pay attention to you between 5 to 8 minutes. Between 5 to 8 minutes. So what does it mean for you as a teacher? It means that you need to change the dynamics. You need to change the activities every 8 minutes. You cannot do the same thing over and over and over again. Yes, you need to change the activity. So maybe first you start sharing the story, then you can start summarizing the story, then you can continue with singing the story, then you can continue dancing the story, and so on and so forth. So this is the reason why it's a lot of work. The next one, preschoolers respond well to concrete experiences and to large motor involvement in language learning. Number one, what does it mean? You know, like sometimes when you read these kind of paragraphs in methodology books, like people get scared, people don't understand these things, but it's not as difficult as it sounds. Number one, it means that your instructions as a teacher must be simple. You cannot give complex instructions to kids. Like they are kids. You cannot tell them, for example, right? Discussing groups, what would you have done if you were the president of Peru? You can never do that to a kid. I mean, number one, kids don't know what a president is. And number two, they don't know how to put themselves in someone else's situation. So your instructions must be easy to understand, simple, okay? Simple activities like color the circle or circle the food that you like, right? As simple as that, guys. I mean, you need to make it as simple as possible. And number two, large motor involvement. It means that you have to make the kids to move. They have to move. They have to jump. They have to hop. They have to dance. And you as a teacher need to dance too. This is one of the, as an introvert, because I consider myself an introvert, it was one of the most challenging things for me when I used to teach at schools, you know, because it was embarrassing for me to dance, to act, to role play in my classes, but I had to do it. Otherwise, the kids would never pay attention to me. So you have to deal with it. So it's not a matter of, I'm an introvert, I cannot do that. No, no way. If you're an introvert and you don't want to do it, then go find another job. This is not the job for you. So So you need to move. Yes. And children love dancing. They love dancing. Not all of them, but most of them love dancing. So yeah, you can use music in your classes. Now let's talk about 5 to 7-year-olds. This is a different type of class, mostly between primary to, I don't know, first primary to fifth primary, something like that. So like I said before, guys, this is one of the perfect classes for me to teach. I love teaching these kind of kids, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, most primary grade children are still pre-operational and they learn best with concrete experiences and immediate goals. What does it mean? Very interesting. Children at this age will ask you why. They will ask you why. So for example, you tell them to do one activity, right? And they will tell you, they will reply this to you. Why do I have to do this? Why? So they're asking themselves, they're in the discovery stage, right? Like they want to know why, the why of everything. Why is this way? Why this wall is painted white? Why not red? So they're asking themselves why questions. And you as a teacher, you need to be smart enough to answer these kind of questions in a clever way. Yes. So it's very important, guys, again, to prepare your classes in advance. So for example, if you ask them to color the objects red and they ask you why, well, you can tell them, well, because red is a color, is an easy color to find, to identify, and then you continue. Yes. Always remember, guys, to be very picky, very careful with the answers to the students. You cannot overreact. You cannot lose control. You cannot lose your temper as a teacher, because those kids will tell their parents, hey, my teacher yelled at me. He doesn't like me. And then the next day, parents will talk to you. Believe me, they will talk to you. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen. You want parents to be happy. If they are happy, you are happy. So be very careful with the words you use as a teacher. Yes. The next one, new concepts and vocabulary are more meaningful when presented as pairs of binary opposites. This is so true. Children learn easily when you show them antonyms. Like, for example, black, white, thin, fat, big, small. They love that. I mean, it's number one, it's easy to remember. Number two, they see this as a game of words. Okay. 3, children like to name objects, define words, and learn about things in their own words. They also have vivid imaginations and respond well to stories of fantasy. This is the reason why you as a teacher need to include fairy tales, stories in your classes. Stories like the 3 Little Pigs, the Little Red Riding Hood, many other stories, right? That you can use in your classes. So it's very important for you as a teacher also to read more about stories that you can include and incorporate in your classes. Number 4, primary age children learn through oral language. They are capable of developing good oral skills, pronunciation, and intonation when they have a good model. Let me repeat this again. When they have a good model. And guess what? You are the model. If you pronounce the words badly, they will learn English in a bad way. So you are the models. So this is the reason, again, why your level of English must be good. If your level of English is bad, you cannot expect your students, your class, to learn fast or better. So you, as an English teacher, again, need to work on yourself first in order to give and provide and care for your students. Okay. We continue talking about children between 5 to 7 years old. They learn well through dramatic play, role play, and use of story form with a strong beginning, middle, and end. Of course, they like role play. So after sharing a story in the class, the best thing that you can do after that is to role play the story. So let's imagine you were talking about the Three Little Pigs and the Wolf, okay? Famous, popular story. Okay, so now you tell them, all right, guys, so now I need a wolf. Who would like to become a wolf in this classroom? And there is always a guy who will raise his hand. Me, I want to be the wolf. Okay, you are the wolf. Come over here. And then, okay, I need 3 pigs. Who could be the pigs in this classroom? And many people will raise their hands, you know? And people like this. So students like to be actors. Actresses, why? Because they want to be in the center of attention. They want to be on the spotlight. Yes? So you can take advantage of these guys. Use stories in your classes. The next one, since they have a short attention spans, activities should be short with lots of variety. Of course, like we said before, you need to change your activities every 5 to 8 minutes. So for example, if you're talking about stories, right? Okay, so first you teach them some vocabulary relevant to the story. Then you can predict, like you can show them some pictures of the story and tell them to predict what the story could be about. Later, you can tell the story. After that, you can role play the story. And finally, you can create a song or use a song that includes the story. Yes? So, and you have to do this, you have to change the activities every 5 to 8 minutes. Yes? Now, if the activity turns to be interesting and you see this excitement of the students, of course, I mean, you can keep going, right? But also it depends on the experience that you have as a teacher. So you will only learn these through experience. Yes. The next one, they need large muscle activity and they are not quite skilled with small muscle tasks yet. Of course, guys. I mean, like we said before, you want to make it simple, make it easy for the students to do. You cannot give them complex activities. The worst thing that you can do, guys, with your class is to like the message you want to convey to be awkward, to be boring, to be difficult to understand. You want to make it easy for the people to understand you. Okay, activities like color this, color the opposite, or circle the odd one out. Okay, or stick the stickers of the vocabulary learned in the class. That's it. Simple activities. Don't beat around the bush. Direct. The next one. Teachers at this level must give very structured and specific directions and build regular routines and patterns into the daily lesson plans. This is exactly what we said before, guys. You have to be very specific with your instructions and you can build regular routines. Routines like what? Like your classes must be predictable, but also unpredictable. Let me say this again. Your classes must be predictable, but also unpredictable. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that there must be a balance, right? Like life, there must be a balance. So when you enter the classroom, the kids need to know how you will start your classes. Like I remember when I used to teach at schools, I remember that when I enter to the class, I enter with a game, right? Like Simon Says. So Simon says, everybody stand up. And all my students stood up. And then I said, Simon says, everybody, take out your English book. And everybody took their English book out. Simon says, sit down. And everybody sat down, right? So this is one of the ways that I used to, I used to enter my classes this way. Of course, I used this only for a couple of weeks. And then I had to change, find a different way to enter my classes. Because if you do the same thing over and over again, like children will get bored, right? Children would say, oh, here is the English teacher. He will make us do Simon says, blah, 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 and then get bored, right? So you don't want to be too predictable. You want to be predictable, yes, but not too predictable. So there must be a balance, yes. But students need to know that their English teacher is there and you need to do something about it, yes. Not just enter to the class and say, good morning, class. Today, we're gonna talk about, that's boring. If you wanna teach this way, preferably don't teach, guys. Just stay at home watching Netflix. Don't do that. Don't do that to your kids. Believe me, okay? Don't do that to your kids. If you wanna teach, if you wanna become a teacher, you need to become the best teacher you can. You need to inspire your students. You need to motivate your students, okay? You wanna make them fall in love with English. If you don't want to do that, then don't become an English teacher. Great. Okay, let's talk about teenagers. So anybody teaches teenagers? Students from, let's say, 10 to 15 years old? Type me in the chat box if you teach teenagers. Who teach teenagers? Nicole teaches teenagers. Wow, it's good. Christian teaches teenagers too. Great. Elizabeth too, Pilar too. Wow, that's good. We have many teachers who are teaching teenagers. That's good. I like that. Now, teenagers, teaching teenagers was not my favorite class. It was not my cup of tea. It pretty much depended on the classes I had. But personally, I didn't like to teach teenagers. But anyway, number one, they take in language and try to make sense of it. So whatever you teach teenagers, there must be a reason behind that. They are more, they think critically, right? Like they ask, why do I have to study this? So you let's imagine, right? You enter the class and you teach present simple. And then one of the students will say, okay, teacher, but why present simple? Like, what is it useful for me? Is it useful for me? So you need to find a way to describe and explain to your students, why is it useful for them? Like, for example, let's imagine you're teaching, I don't know, past simple, okay? Past simple. And one of your students asks you, hey, teacher, why past simple? Why do I have to learn about the past simple? And then you say, okay, well, very easy. Let's imagine you are in Miraflores. And then you see a girl or a boy, a handsome boy or a handsome girl or an attractive girl, and they ask you about your last vacations. So how would you reply? Oh, okay, I see. So now there is a reason for them to learn about the past simple, because if they don't know the past simple, they can never describe their experiences to this handsome boy or attractive girl. You see? So you must find a way to convince, persuade these teenagers that whatever you're teaching on that day is useful. And believe me, you will always find a way. Yes. Okay. Number two, they struggle with pronunciation and vocabulary, of course. So at this point, these teenagers must have had some bad experience with their primary teachers. Maybe the primary teachers were not good teachers and they taught English in a very wrong way. So they might get confused easily with the grammar. They don't pronounce well some words. So you need to work harder on that. Okay. The next one, they are becoming adults and want more control over the learning situation. They want to be in charge of the classes, but you know that can happen. But you need to give them some power too. So how? By asking them questions. I remember when I used to teach teenagers, I pretended that I gave them some power. How? Very easy. I said, for example, so in some of my classes, I enter, I think it was secondary school, high school. I remember I entered and I said, it was not often, right? But perhaps once every 2 months, I said, okay, guys, so today is a lucky day. Today we'll do whatever you want to do, but I want to give you some options. Look, we can do some karaoke, we can do some storytelling, and we can play some games in English. What would you like to do today? You see? So when you give them some options, and you give them this feeling of deciding what to do in the classes, like they feel in charge of the classes, and they like that, right? So you can try that. Good. And the last one, a thematic curriculum should be developed that centers on their interest and their word, of course. Teenagers don't want to, they want to learn everything that will be useful for them and everything that catches their interest. And this is the reason why you as a teacher need to learn about who their favorite singers are, who their favorite actors or actresses are. Yes. So I remember when I used to teach English, when I started teaching English, I didn't know who the famous pop singers were at the time, but I had to learn that, right? And eventually I fell in love with the pop music, right? So you need to know you need to know about these trends, like favorite actors, favorite actresses, favorite singers, right? So you cannot talk about old singers. Like you cannot talk about Elton John. You cannot talk about Bon Jovi. Maybe yes, in some situations, some kids like that, but you need to talk about more current singers, right? Actors, actresses, contests, YouTubers now, influencers as well. Yes, great. They like that. They like that. Okay, now let's talk about adults. So anybody here teaches adults? Okay, we got Erica. Erica teaches adults. Anyone else? Type me in the chat box if you teach adults. Oh, good, good, good. Well, if you're teaching adults, it means that you work in an institute or you work in a language center. So yeah, I think adults are great. They are adults. They are not children anymore. So let me show you some characteristics, okay? Number one, they are autonomous learners. What does it mean? It means that they are theoretically more responsible of their learning process, right? So this is the reason why they are more autonomous learners. So you tell them to do something and they are supposed to do something. And I do these quotation marks because sometimes some adults don't do it. Maybe they have a lot of work to do, maybe their family gets on the way, things like that. But in essence, they are more autonomous learners, which is convenient for you because you only assign them some activities and they are supposed to do that. Two, they are purposeful and motivated. Yes, some of the adults are highly motivated to learn English, and you will see that in your classes. They want to learn English because of work, because of travel. Maybe they got married with an American guy or an American gal, and they really want to learn English. You're very lucky, guys, if you have one of these people in your classes because they will motivate and inspire other classmates as well. Number three, they have more experience. And this is very useful because you can ask them questions like, okay, tell me about your last vacation. Where do you go? What do you do? And they start sharing, right? Okay, my last vacation, I went to this place, I did this and that, things like that. You cannot do that to a kid, right? Maybe yes, but you cannot do that to a kid. They don't have much experience to share, but you can do this with an adult. Number 4, they are goal and results oriented. So they really want to know what they are doing and why. If you're teaching them the reporter speech, you need to tell them why is this useful for them. If you're teaching them about the passive voice, you need to tell them why is it useful for them. Yes? So you don't have to be like so specific, but you can tell them, okay, if you learn the passive voice, you can express yourself in a more polite way. People will look at you with a lot of respect and they will like it. So they feel a need to learn the passive voice. You see? So it's very important, guys, to remember this. And you can use chunks. Yes, you can use chunks when you are teaching your English classes. What is a chunk? These are examples of chunks, right? Like short phrases, templates, if you will, that you can find in different kinds of books. And when you teach English in chunks, it's much easier. Yes, we have a definition of a lexical chunk. It's a group of words that are commonly found together in fixed phrases, sometimes referred to as a lexical phrase. We tend to speak in chunks. Actually, you know that, which reduces the energy required for processing language. Here we have some examples. Let's imagine you want to teach likes and dislikes, okay? So you draw 2 faces, one happy face, one sad face or disgusting face, and you write I like, I don't like on the other column. And then let's imagine you're teaching food. So what do you say? I like apples, I don't like olives. I like bananas, I don't like oranges, and so on and so forth. So you can use chunks for all ages. Children, teenagers, and adults. Of course, you can be creative, guys. You can use pictures, you can use images, you can use posters, you can use PowerPoint presentations, etc. Or you can simply draw on the board. Yes, great. Okay. All right. And that was the first principle. Do you like it? Please, if you found this interesting, type interesting in the chat box. If you found the first principle interesting for you, come on, I'm going to read you guys. Great. Shayla says interesting. Nicole, interesting. Great. Okay, awesome. Diana Ramos says interesting. Good. I like it. I like it. Yeah, don't forget, guys, that we're recording this webinar. So we're going to send you this webinar to your emails so that you can check the slides, you can check everything you miss. Yeah, I want to share with you guys these to your emails. Perfect. Okay, now let's go with the second principle. And the second principle is, if you want to teach English the right way, you need to develop students' cognitive strategies through language learning. So what does it mean? It basically means you need to know as a teacher all the different activities, exercises that you can use in your classes. Because remember, as we said before, your activities must be different. You need to change the activities every 5 to 8 minutes. But how can you change that? What activities can you use? What activities can you insert? So you need to know that. So we're going to give you guys the tools to create your classes. And these are the most popular, useful activities that you can include in your classes. We're going to analyze each one of them, so don't worry. We have activities like discrimination, identification, predicting, recalling, sequencing, describing, analyzing, inferring, comparing and contrasting, very popular and useful activity, categorizing, summarizing, and evaluating. So, for example, This is an example of discrimination. Yes. Typical activity. Look at this. Discrimination. So to discriminate is to be able to recognize a difference or to separate the parts of a whole. This comes after the observation. So for example, you can tell them, circle the odd one out and say why. This is one of my favorite activities. I like to use this for children. Children like to find the odd one out. So you give them a series of words and one of the words doesn't fit. So they need to read and identify the odd one out. For example, in the first row, we have apple, orange, potato, and banana. We have 3 fruit and 1 vegetable, right? So they need to choose, of course, potato. Potato is the odd one out in the first one. The second activity is called identification. To identify consists of giving a name, using a word to identify a person, a place, an object, or a concept. This is very important, guys, because it has to do with learning new vocabulary. My recommendation, and maybe you see this in books, you should always start with this activity every new unit. Every kid, every teenager, every adult needs new input, needs new vocabulary. And then after that, you can build the grammar, you can build the collocations, etc., etc., etc. Typical question, give each part of the body a name in English. So you give them the part of the body in a box at the top or at the bottom, and they have to label each part of the body. Good activity. Yep. Predicting. This is my favorite when you share stories. And I think I told you that in the previous principle. So predicting or estimating is using the information that we have in order to formulate possible consequences. For example, let's imagine that you are going to talk about you're going to share the story, The Three Little Pigs. And you have a big poster of the Three Little Pigs, right? And you show them the poster and you tell them, okay, guys, so look at this picture. What can you see in this picture? How many pigs can you see? Where are the pigs? What do you think is going to happen later? How do you think the story will end? So when you ask questions like this, what are you doing? You are predicting. You're activating the previous knowledge on the students. You're activating their schemata. And yeah, I mean, you will make it easy for the students to understand by the time you share the story. It's not just you share the story and that's it. No, no, no. There are some steps that you need to follow. Okay. The next one, sequencing. Yes. This is very useful, for example, when you are talking about the photosynthesis, when you're talking about the seasons of the year, etc., right? So to put in order information is to put ideas according to a chronological order, alphabetically or according to their importance. This is very important because it helps us to recognize the sequence according to our bank of memory and to be able to handle that specific information when we need it. Typical question, number the pictures in order according to the story. You see? So they listen to the story and they number the pictures. Recalling. So recalling something requires extracting ideas, facts, terms, formulas, etc. from our memory. It consists in incorporating important past information to our conscious, which is useful to the present moment. This is important because all of us keep a huge amount of information in our bank of memory, which is useful to activate and use in a particular moment. This facilitates our ability to think quickly. For example, you have 30 seconds to give me space in blank, starting from now. So for example, you can tell the kids, you can tell your class, you have 30 seconds to give me the 7 days of the week. Write it down on your notebooks. They start writing. And to make it more interesting, you can set the timer on the board. Okay, 5 minutes. And then the time runs out. And then the kids need to write down the 7 days of the week. Yes? And they like that. Now, one warning, a warning here. Some of the students are competitive, and these competitive students like these kind of activities, but other students are not very competitive. They don't like to lose, especially children, right? So you need to be very careful with these kind of activities. You don't want to make them cry. I remember when I didn't have experience teaching, I remember I used to, I exaggerated the use of this activity. And I remember I used to make my students, perhaps 5 in a group of 20, to cry because they didn't want to lose, right? Because this is like a competition. So you need to be very careful with that. So you need to give them some warnings. You can tell them, okay, guys, so if you cannot make it in the 5 minutes, don't worry, it's fine. I just want to check your vocabulary, blah, 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 blah. So you need to give them some comfort. Like, this is not a life or death situation, right? So yeah, just be careful. The next activity, categorizing or classifying. This is my favorite too. They like that. Categorizing and classifying information consists in grouping ideas or objects based on particular criteria. This allows us to handle large amounts of information and to store them in our memory. Typical technique, look at the pictures, cut them out, and glue them back in the correct column. This is perfect for children because children like to touch things, they like to move, so they make them cut the pictures and then stick them in the right category. If they are adults, you cannot expect adults to use scissors, right? So you only tell them to write down the names of the objects in the right category. So yeah, good. Okay. The next one, describing. Describing consists of giving characteristics of an object, fact, or person. To describe something, we can use words or images. For example, look at the monsters and describe them. This activity, for instance, is very useful when you talk about the parts of the body, right? So when you talk about the parts of the body, the typical picture is a boy or a girl, and you label the parts of the body. But when you have monsters or something weird, something out of the ordinary, students like that, right? So you can tell them, okay, so the first monster has 4 legs, 2 arms, 7 eyes, blah, 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 right? So they like this. They like this. The next one, analyzing. To analyze means to separate a whole into parts based on a plan according to particular criteria. To be able to analyze separately parts or compounds of a whole is very useful to solve problems in general. Typical technique, analyze a story. We ask the students to complete this chart with information from the story they have either read or listened to. This is perfect, guys, when after you share the story. Let's imagine you finish sharing the story of the 3 little pigs, right? Okay, perfect. So now you give them this handout and you tell them, okay, it's time to analyze the story. And they have to write who were the main characters. Okay, the 3 little pigs and the wolf. Where were they? Well, they were in the forest. What happened? Describe it. Okay, the first scene, this is what happened. The second scene, this is what happened. You can use this activity for teenagers, right? Like teenagers or children who are between 7 to 9 years old. They can also answer this kind of questions, but you cannot expect small children to answer this kind of questions, right? This is too complex for them. Summarizing. Summarizing consists of putting forward the nucleus of a complex idea in a concise way. In order to do this, students need to be able to analyze the facts, events, problems. Example, students listen or read a story, they analyze it, and then answer questions like this. What happened at the beginning of the story? What happened next? How did the story end? They can use their answers to make a drawing that summarizes the whole story. Now, summarizing is a very academic skill. I don't recommend you to tell a small kid to summarize a story. No, they haven't developed that part. That ability, right? But you can use this in teenagers. Yes, so teenagers, they know how to summarize stories and try to be unpredictable too. So maybe one day you can tell them summarize the story in 10 lines, and maybe the next class summarize the story by drawing a picture, or summarize the story by drawing a comic strip or something like that, right? Like you have to do it different. Don't do the same thing over and over and over again. Don't become too predictable. You need to become unpredictable as well. The next one, inferring. When children draw inferences, they make educated guesses about things they observe. Through this process of making inferences, children can make meaning out of things they see instead of simply observing them. Lessons in drawing inferences will surely prove worthwhile. Technique, read the short text and make guesses to answer this question. Yeah, so what is an inference? Is basically to draw a conclusion, right? To infer. So you don't know if the answer is correct or not, but you're making predictions about it. So needless to say, you need to use these activities for adults or teenagers. Children, small kids cannot do this. Evaluating and judging. To be able to evaluate requires analyzing facts and using the various basic skills to elaborate judgment based on internal or external criteria. This mental process is at the top of the pyramid of the critical thinking. Typical question, after you listen to the story, say if you like it or not and why. So if you're dealing with kids, you can simply ask them a question, do you like the story? And show them a happy face and a sad face. And they need to choose the one that they feel most comfortable with. If they are adults, you don't need a happy or sad face. You only ask them the question, did you like the story? Why? And that's it, right? So it's very important to evaluate or judge. This is important, guys, because you always need to run some kind of service, because if you feel like the activity that you prepared to your students, to your class, they didn't like it, you need to change it, right? You don't want to make it boring. You want to make it interesting. So it's very important to ask them the question if they like your class or not at the end. I always ask my students if they like it or not, right? Do you like this? Do you like class today? Oh, perfect. What do you like most about the class today? Oh, I like the interactive activity, the game. Okay, perfect. So you know what to prepare the next class. Yes, because sometimes people like overcomplicate their stuff, right? They tell themselves, okay, what can I do to catch the attention of my students? And you can simply ask them a question. Just ask them, okay, what do you like about the class? Why? That's it. Good. And well, and this is it. Good. Do you like the second principle, guys? Do you like all the activities we share with you? Type yes in the chat box if you found the second principle useful and helpful. Great. Great. Christian says useful. Diana says excellent. Okay, I'm glad you like it. Perfect, perfect, very useful. Good, I'm glad you like it. Now, guys, do you remember I told you that we have a present for you? Excellent. Shella says very useful, Pilar says useful. Okay, I like it. So do you remember, guys, we had a present for you only if you stay until the end of this presentation? All right, so this is the present. Are you ready? Great. So this is your present. Let's do it. So we are hosting our next in-person event. Yes, this is face-to-face. It's not virtual. It's face-to-face on June 23rd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's on Sunday. This is the office. It's in Lince. So I think it's in a very central place. So if you live in any district, you will find this place as a central place. It's very easy to reach, to get. So, and we have an in-person event coming on June 21st. So in about 2 weeks from now, approximately. And this event is for people who want to become English teachers who want to polish up their methodology skills, people who want to know how to design a model class, people who want to apply for a new job as a teacher with full confidence, and people who want to network with other teachers and build relationships. Remember, guys, I think this is the most important thing, network, because if you want to work in a prestigious institution, you need to have the context, right? And the best way to have the context is by getting to know other people who work in more prestigious institution, right? Because in most of the cases, these language center, prestigious language centers, they never post their ads, their openings on the news in the newspapers. It's through word of mouth. So they tell their teachers, hey, do you know another teacher who, do you have friends who work, who are English teachers? We need teachers in this institution. And then their friends call them and then they get the job, right? So it's very important, guys, to network with other teachers. So what will you learn in this event? Number one, we're gonna teach you different things. We're gonna teach you how to design a lesson plan. Very useful, guys, if you wanna become an English teacher, because at the beginning, they will ask you, it doesn't matter if you wanna work for a school or an institute, they will ask you to design a lesson plan. And if you don't know how to design a lesson plan, you are in big trouble, okay? Number two, what you should know when it comes to selecting a book. If you work in an institute, they don't give you this option. They tell you what books to choose. I mean, they tell you what books to teach. But if you're planning to work in a school, in some cases, the principal tell you, okay, teacher, we'll let you know. I mean, you decide which books to use next year. And if you don't know what books to teach or what books to choose from, how are you going to answer the question? So you need to know what books to select, what books to teach. Number 3 and 4, additional resources. Yes. So of course, today we share with you a lot of activities that you can include in your classes, but there are more additional resources that you can use, guys, in your classes. We're going to teach you how to select, how to adapt, and how to complement your classes so that your classes are interesting and do not generate boredom, okay? Because remember, if your students are happy, you will be happy. As simple as that. So, are you ready for the present?